Hi Flosstube, my name is Laura and welcome to my channel, Loves Rubber Stamps Needlecrafts. This is my very first Flosstube video. I am super nervous, so please forgive any awkwardness. Hopefully I'll get better as I do more of these. I first found Flosstube about 3 years ago, a little over 3 years, when I got back into cross-stitching. I was looking for some tips on how to stitch a heaven and earth design, and came across Carolyn Mazzio's videos, binge watched her, and have been watching Flosstube ever since. I've been really inspired by many of you and thought that it was about time that I got the nerve up to try to make my own video and join the community in that way, and hopefully inspire some of you with the projects that I'm working on, as many of you have inspired me over the years. For this video, I thought I would just do the Know Your Needleworker tag and then go through a whip parade so you can see what kind of projects I'm working on and where my starting spot would be, since you've never seen any before. Unless you follow me on Instagram, I post on there. It's the same name, Loves Rubber Stamps Needlecrafts. I'll go ahead and start with the Know Your Needleworker tag. First one is, where do you live? I live in central Iowa with my husband. We've been together for 28 years this year and been married for 21. What do you do for a living? I work in law enforcement as an emergency dispatcher. We dispatch for police, medical, and fire. I work the overnight shifts, and I have to go to work here in like half an hour, so I'm going to try to hurry. I have to go get ready for work. Work the overnight shift. I've been doing it for 16 years now. The good thing about working overnights is we can bring things to do in our downtime in between calls. So I have 4 heaven and earth designs that I rotate through at work and work on. So I do a lot of cross stitching in the wee hours of the morning. Do you have any children? We have 2 children. We have a daughter, Alicia, who's 26. She's a CNA currently. And we have a son, Austin, who is 21, and he's a college student right now. Do you have any pets? We have 2 dogs. Our first one, Bella, she's 12. She's a Jetis. It's a cross between a Japanese Chin and a Maltese. And then we have Teddy, who is my baby, and he is an expensive mutt. He is part Shih Tzu, Pug, Maltese, and he is currently recovering from his second TPLO surgery. He just had surgery last week. Gets his stitches out on Thursday. He had his first surgery in August. Was on activity restriction for 2 months. Got off of that, and 2 weeks later, he ripped the ligament in his second knee. So he just had the next surgery. What are your other hobbies besides stitching? I like to do rubber stamping for card making. That's where my name comes from, Loves Rubber Stamps Needlecrafts. I actually have a small online store where I sell like rubber stamps, and I'm just starting to add cross-stitch supplies. And it's the same name, Loves Rubber Stamps and Needlecrafts. I also like to do crochet, photography. I'm learning photography, drawing. I want to learn to knit. I can cast on pretty good, but then after that I'm lost because I'm very uncoordinated with the needles. I'm also learning to sew. I made working on my first quilt top, and haven't really sewn before, but winging it, watching YouTube videos. What is your favorite movie? I don't really have any favorite movies. I watch a lot of, when I do watch movies, they're either scary movies, horror movies, comedies, thrillers, mysteries. Some movies that my husband and I seem to watch whenever we come across them on TV is Twister, Titanic, Rounders. What is your favorite TV show? I don't really watch a whole lot of TV. When I do, we watch things like Shark Tank, The First 48, kind of documentary type stuff. I like things on haunted houses, so like My Haunted House, paranormal stuff. What is your favorite book? Again, I don't really have favorite books. I have authors that I like to read. Read a lot of Stephen King, Anne Rice, John Saul, Dean Koontz. Same genre, horror books, mysteries. One of my favorite authors is Tess Gerritsen. She's really good. Favorite music, pretty much listen to anything but country. I have a few country artists that I like some of their songs, but not very many. Mostly listen to like 80s rock, some heavy metal stuff, some pop, some rap, kind of eclectic. And what word best describes you? Probably caring. I seem to do a lot for other people. Sometimes take care of others and neglect taking care of myself. That's it for the Know Your Needleworker tag. So we'll go ahead and move on. And I thought what would be kind of fun before I show you my whips is show you my very first cross stitch that I ever completed. Back when I first got into cross stitching, my daughter was only about, she wasn't even 1 yet. So basically we didn't have a lot of money back then, so I bought a lot of patterns and things from garage sales. Got fabric when I could find it at garage sales. So I didn't really stitch a whole lot. I just basically bought patterns and hoarded them. And I would kind of alternate between crochet and cross stitch. So I'd hoard patterns for a while. Didn't really stitch a whole lot because I've never really been a huge fan of Aida. I think that's what stopped me. So I just hoarded patterns really. Then when I had my son, and I worked as a security guard at Burla, I was also going to school full time. So I worked the overnight shifts as a security guard. So I would study anatomy and physiology till my brain went numb and I couldn't study any longer. We weren't allowed to have TV or anything in our guard shack, so I would just cross stitch for the rest of the night. So this was my very first piece that I ever actually completed. And it's a tiger. It's from I think it's a Cross My Heart leaflet. I still have the leaflet. It's called Exotic Cats, I believe. I love tigers, lions, leopards, and I love stitching them. This was done on 14 count Aida. This was back before, like I said, we didn't have a lot of money, so I tried to use as much of my fabric as possible, so I didn't believe in borders. Didn't know better. It's a little bit dirty. I need to wash him and get him in a proper frame. But I love him. He's my very first completed cross stitch, I should say, that I have from back in the day. Really the only one I have completed. Now we'll go ahead and go through my other whips. I'll go ahead and show you the 4 Heaven and Earth designs that I rotate through while I'm at work. This first one is my very first Heaven and Earth that I started. This is actually my very first cross stitch that I started when I came back to cross stitching in 2015. It was in September of 2015. I hadn't cross stitched or anything for over 8 years. And when I came back to it, it was like a whole new world. Hand-dyed fabrics, hand-dyed flosses, amazing patterns. And so I've been stitching and buying everything that I possibly can since I got back into it, 2015. So here's the first one. It is patterned by Beck Winnell called New Girl 3. That's what it'll look like when it's finished in about 70 years. Here's where I'm at. I have 4 full pages on this completed. This one is being stitched on 28 count Lugana 1/1. Before I show you my other haids, I thought I would show you quickly how I tote them around to work. So all of my haids that I take to work are on 8.5 by 11 key snaps, so I can fit them in a project bag. I have a little tote bag that I keep all my stuff in. So the project bag goes in my tote bag. I keep the way I organize my pattern is I have the cover sheet like you saw, and then I have my key in page protector, front and back side, so I only have to use 2 for this one. On the back side of the second key, I keep some extra pages. Basically, I always keep the page adjoining the one I'm working on and the pages below those two, since I work down. I keep those on their own clipboard. And then when I'm working on them at work, I have this little stand that your clipboard sits on, so I can easily mark off my sheets and patterns. All of my extra, I always buy the PDFs from Heaven and Earth Design. Most of my Heaven and Earth are PDFs, so I print them off working copies. Then I just store my extra pages in a manila envelope. Just put the black and white picture on the front so I know what the pages belong to. And then I just keep them in my filing cabinet at home until I need more pages. So that's how I store them. And my floss, I just have them in bobbin boxes. Those 4 projects, I have them all individually bobbinated in their own floss box. So my second Heaven Earth design, because, you know, one isn't enough, is this one by Katerina Kukiaitis. Probably didn't say that correctly. It's called Heaven's Little Angel. This is where I am on that one. I got 1 full page done and partial of the one below it. This is on a little bit of the next page. I don't know if you can see the sparkle in it. Oh, there you go. It's got a lot of Kreinik in it. I started this one for my sister-in-law. Our niece was diagnosed with cancer when she was 7, and when she was diagnosed, her cancer was pretty extensive. It was all through her abdomen, up into her spine and her lungs. So the prognosis wasn't very good when she first got diagnosed. She's been through a lot of treatments, and today she's doing great. This was like 2 years ago she was diagnosed. No cancer in her scan so far, and she's doing awesome, so that's great. This third Heaven and Earth design is this one called Double Dog Shelf by Randall Spangler. I'm stitching this one for my mom. This is where I am on this one. I have 1 full page completed, and then I'm working on the second page. It's almost done, and then I have started into the 3rd page. This is also on 28 count 1/1, which is my preferred fabric for Heaven and Earth. I forgot to tell you that the angel one I was stitching is 25 count. I'm doing that 2/1. It's a little bit bulky. I don't mind doing it on that one since it's only got like 13 colors, so there's not a lot of confetti, but I would hate it on a confetti filled piece. It would be too bulky and hurt your fingers. The last Heaven and Earth design that I'm working at work is this one called Dreamer by Nadia Strelkina. And this is a Max Colors version. I requested Michelle chart it in Max Colors. And here's where I'm at on this one. This is the one I'm currently working on. You can really see it's got a ton of confetti. I've almost got page 1 done. I have probably about 500 stitches left to go, and then that page will be done. Maybe you can see it. So those are my 4 Heaven and Earths that I take back and forth to work. I was switching them out every week where I'd rotate through them. Now I'm just kind of working on goal-based rotation where I stitch on it till if I'm close to a page finish, I want to finish the page, or until I get sick of it. Now I'll go through some of my other whips. I don't have these in any particular order. This year I am participating in the Stitch 9 challenge that farm girl Michelle Rudy is putting on. So as we go through these, I will tell you which ones are on my 9 projects that I picked to try to finish this year. And the first one is actually one of my Stitch 9 pieces. It's Redbirds by Marie Barber. It's in the Just Cross Stitch magazine, November, December of 2011. This one I'm stitching in honor of my grandparents, who both passed away that I was really close to. I always like to stitch cardinals in honor of them when I can. So this is where I'm at on this one. It's got the flowers in the middle. It's a beautiful piece. I love working on it. Stitching this on 28 count lamb's wool Joblin that I got at, I believe I just got it at Hobby Lobby. The next piece is called Believe by Stony Creek. Cute little snowman. It's in this magazine. It's the August 2007. This one I just started December 2nd, so I'm not very far. I only worked on it one night and got one line done. Started the border. It's on a 28 count opalescent white Lugana. Went to a couple of Michelle Rudy's retreats, and in one of the retreats, two ladies had stitched this and brought them framed, and they were beautiful, so I had to start mine. My next little start was kind of a spur of the moment start. I was bored one night and packing for the last retreat I went to, and didn't really want to work on any of my whips and wanted something small to start, so I started the Farm Fresh from Kathy Haberman from Hands On Design. Didn't get very far because I didn't have a lot of stitchy time, so I got a little egg completed. This fabric is a scrap piece of 32 count Belfast linen that I dyed myself to look like a chalkboard. That's it. And my next one is Fresh Eggs Farm by the talented Priscilla and Chelsea. Charted by Kathy Haberman from Hands On Design. I want to stitch all of Priscilla's chalk designs, like all of them, because they're all beautiful. That's why I decided I better learn how to dye my own chalkboard fabric if I'm going to stitch all of her pieces. So here's where I am on Fresh Eggs Farm. I just have a little chicken, part of a fence. This needle minder I believe I got from Jennifer at Delicious Threads. It's a 32 count Belfast, like I said, that I dyed myself to look like a chalkboard. My next piece is called Playful Pumpkins by Elizabeth Spurlock. And this one is one of my Pick 9, Stitch 9 challenge pieces. That one is in the 2014 Keepsakes cross stitch calendar. I started this for Stitch Mania and I only worked on it for one day, so I have the outline of a pumpkin. That's it. My fabric is a 32 count Beach Walk from Under the Sea Fabrics. My next one is also a Stitch 9 challenge piece. This is my Lizzie Kate Promise Me. I picked my own floss colors for this. The main letters I'm doing in the DMC 4000 variegated floss. Here's where I am so far. I have the word stronger and the letter D. That's it. And this is on 32 count lamb's wool linen. It's that stiff, scratchy stuff. Here's my flosses that I picked. It's just a mix of, I try to get real similar to what the pattern called for. Mix of color and cotton, classic colorworks, and some weeks. My next one is called Herbal Grimoire from Samplers and Stories on Etsy. This is another one of my Stitch 9 pieces that I hope to finish this year. This is all I've got. Started it for Stitch Mania. Worked on it the one day. This is on 40 count Mummy Wraps by Ship's Manor. Love this fabric. It's great for the kind of spooky Halloween-y stuff. The letters and the inside of the book pages I'm going to do in a Dinky Dyes silk. My next one that I'm doing is from this book by Stony Creek Magazine. It's February 2007. And it's the Winter Bell Pull. It's the old one. And I'm doing this on the recommended fabric in the magazine. It's what they call 18 count Fireside Afghan. And here's where I'm at. I only worked on it one day. Part of the W. This pattern, or this fabric, I have to use with a scroll rod, and it's very loose weave, so I don't know if I really like stitching on it very much. It's a beautiful pattern when it's done, but it's kind of a pain working on it. The next one, I don't have a cover shot. I'll try to insert a picture here. Of what it's going to look like when it's finished, but you'll probably get an idea. This is one of my Stitch 9 challenge pieces. It's the Sugar Skull Darth Vader from Stitch Line by Etsy. I'm doing this on an 18 count white Aida. This one's for my son. He likes Star Wars. There's 2 other designs in this series that I plan on stitching eventually. Hoping to finish that one this year. The next piece is another Priscilla Blaine. This one is the Seasons in Chalk art, and this was her winter design. It's in a Just Cross Stitch magazine, which I had digitally, so I printed it. And this is on 32 count slate by Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. That's where I've got 3 snowflakes. Long way to go. I need to start one of my farms, or no, I have a farm started. I need to start one of my seasons of, or the chalk for the home seasons piece. So I have one from each series going that Priscilla did. The next one is another one of my Stitch 9 challenge pieces. This is the one I've been working on quite a bit here lately because I'm almost done with it. I'm trying to get it finished, knocked out. This is the Winter ABCs by Little House Needlework. And this is in my Q-Snap. I took the top off so I could show you the whole piece, but this is on 28 count London Fog by Under the Sea Fabrics. And that's where I am. And down to the T and the U finish, and then I gotta do the little scene and then finish the letters, and I have one more little scene, and then this will be done. I did buy the shutter, or a shutter, so I could try to Priscillify my finish like she did. My next one is from the Paula Vaughn Quilts for All Seasons book. And this one I'm doing is the November quilt. My page fell out. This is another one of my challenge pieces for the Stitch 9 challenge. I hope to finish it this year. Not very far. I have some of the quilt. This is on a, gotta find it, sorry. I believe it's 32 count cream. Yeah, 32 count cream Zweigart linen. Once I get the quilt done, I think it will go pretty fast because there's a lot of fractionals in the quilt and a lot of back stitching. And then I think the rest will go pretty quick once I get that part done. Because I think some of the ground is just the half stitches, so shouldn't take too long, hopefully. Fingers crossed. My next piece, oops, sorry, about dropped you. My next piece is the Doreen Jones Lakeside Needlecraft Mystery Sal. I don't have what it looks like fully finished, so if I can, I'll insert a picture here. This one, I started to force myself to stitch some of the border. I'll never do it. So I started, there's some of the border. And I got all of the little circles completed. I stitched 3 of the little characters. This is stitched on, let's see, where are you? 32 count Opalescent Fairy Dance by Hand Dyed Fabrics by Stephanie. I've made little changes to these as I stitched them. The little Pegasus was the first one I did. And I did the rainbow in the DMC satins, which was a real pain in the butt. They look pretty when you get them done, but it wasn't very fun to stitch with. I added beads. I used Krynic for the wings and Whisper Thread for the wings, so part of them were fuzzy. And then in the tail I used this stuff called Fuzzy. I think it's called Fuzzy Stuff, so it's real fluffy. And I added some Krynic in the sky. The second character I did was the little wizard. And for him, I added whisper thread for his beard, some Kreinik in the sky. I used some Moselle floss for the leaves and some Moselle silks for his robe. The third little character I did was the witch. And I changed the pumpkins in front. There's supposed to be like 3 pumpkins, I think. So I changed the pumpkins to a cauldron. I found the cauldron in I believe it was like World of Cross Stitching magazine, that all the Halloween designs were done by Doreen Jones, the same artist. So I swapped out the cauldron, and then I did her hair in what's called turkey work. Stony Creek uses that a lot for their witches, so it makes their hair look really fuzzy and crazy. And then I added 2 little buttons, a little spider button and the cat. I want to kind of personalize each little character, but now I'm forcing myself to, I have to do so much of the border before I'm allowed to do another character, or I'll never do the border and it will never get done. My next project is, I don't have a cover sheet either because I bought this from Patterns Online. It's a Teresa Wensler called The Fortunate Traveler. So if I can, I'll insert a picture of what it will look like finished here. And here's where I'm at. I'm working basically on the top border. I have a little bit where I came down and see a little bit of a bush. But kind of just worked my way to the top so then I could start the border. And I'm saying they're showing you my back. So let me flip it around. There. Probably looks a little better from this side. So, there's my border. And there's what the bush looks like so far. This one has a lot of blended threads, as Teresa Wensler does, but it's going to be beautiful when it's finished. My next piece is, I don't have a cover sheet for it either, so I'll have to try to insert a picture of what it will look like finished here. This one is the Into the Jungle Sow that's by Frosted Pumpkin Stitchery, and I need to learn to look at the whole sows before I just buy them, but when this first came out, the block they were kept showing was the cutest little sloth in the planet, so I basically bought him because I wanted to stitch the sloth. So he was the first block released, so I was all excited. I stitched my little sloth. And that's all I've got done. This fabric is from Crafty Kitten Fabrics. It's a limited edition. It was her July 2016 Fabric of the Month. I used to belong to her Fabric of the Month club. Beautiful fabrics. But I stitched my sloth and then that's it so far. I did decide that for the borders I was going to use some variegated floss to give it some more interest. So the border boxes that are an orange in the pattern, I'm going to use this Moselle jack-o'-lantern. It's got orange and green. And for the boxes that were blue, I'm using this Lord Salisbury, which is like blues, teals, and yellows. My next one that I started is this Eat My Dust kit. It's from Candamar Designs Gold Collection. Like I said, I love to stitch lions, tigers, leopards, big kitties. They're my favorite. This one I'm stitching just on the kit fabric. It's the 16 count Ada. And I just have a little bit of his nose and mouth, the middle lion. This one I haven't got very far because my light keeps screwing up. Sorry about that. I wasn't sure if I wanted to continue on the 16 count Ada because, like I said, I'm not a huge Ada fan. I don't mind stitching on the bigger count Adas like 18 and 20. I don't mind those at all. 14 and 16, it depends on the project and whether I want to stitch with it or not. I decided I'll probably just keep the fabric because the finish looks awesome. So, and when you stand back from it, like when it's on your wall, you're not going to know anyway. So that's that one. This one, I'll probably be restarting it because I don't like the fabric that it's on. This is Sea Pearl by Maxine Gadd by Mystic Stitch. And I started this on a 25 count antique white Lugana, and I'm doing it 2/1 because it's 25 count, and I'm sure she's going to have heavy confetti areas. I'm afraid it's going to get too bulky because just doing the black, I did like a little black square. It's almost not even worth showing you. That's it. But just doing that little black square, it was already starting to kind of hurt my fingers, and so I'm sure that if I get into areas that you do a lot of color changes, it's going to be a nightmare. So I'm thinking I'm going to swap that out and restart it. My next project is from this book, Safari from Jane Netley Mayhew. I love her. She's such a talented artist. This is the one I'm doing. It's called Giants of the Plains. I was inspired to start this one by Jessie Marie from Jessie Marie Does Stuff. She's working on this one. She calls hers Nicki Minaj because the mom has a big butt. So it's hard for me to think of this one of anything other than Nicki Minaj. Here's where I'm at. Doing that one on a 28 count Summer Clouds fabric by Stony Creek. It feels like it's a Monaco because it's kind of thick. It doesn't feel like a Lugana or... My last whip is I have it in her stocking. Sorry, this is in black and white. It's the Shih Tzu stocking, Shih Tzu for Christmas by Donna Gelsinger. I want to stitch all of my family members' stockings. I started this one for my daughter because this little dog looks exactly like Arbella when she was a puppy. Same coloring, same markings, everything. Here's where I'm at. Little square. I'm just stitching this one on a 20 count white Aida, and I don't mind, like I said, the higher count Aidas, and my stitches look really awesome, and the coverage is amazing using 2/1 on the 20 count. I've only used one color so far, but I'm hoping that it doesn't become a nightmare when I get into the more heavy confetti areas. I do have one more whip. It's another Heaven and Earth. It's the King Coda Storyteller by Amy Stewart. And this one is a supersized max color version. So I have it on I have a Mark II floor stand that's got the long bars. That's as big as your house. So I can't really show you that one. So what I thought I'd do is I took a picture of where I'm at. I have 2 full pages completed and starting on the 3rd page. So I'll try to insert a picture of where I'm at here. And those are all my active whips right now. Actually, all my whips. I do have 2 other pieces that I'm going to use for the Stitch 9 challenge. The first one, I guess you could technically call it a whip, I suppose. It's a little series, so it's the Lindy Stitches Mr. and Mrs. Delicious. Oops. Sorry about the glare. And I've already stitched Mr. Delicious. Here's him. And I forgot to write down, I use the Stitch app, Stitch app on my phone, which is what I'm recording on. So I forgot to write down the fabric for this. I don't think it's in here. I don't think I have it in my project bag. But I need to stitch Mrs. Delicious. I haven't started her yet. So that's one of my Stitch 9 pieces, is Mrs. Delicious, to finish that series out. So she's technically going to be a new start because I haven't started her, even though, sorry, Flosstube itchy nose. So I haven't technically, I don't count it as a WIP since I haven't started her, even though I've stitched the other one. My last Stitch 9 piece is going to be this Acorn Harvest, what it's called, Acorn Harvest by Brenda Gervais with a needle and thread. You stitch the little piece that goes in the squirrel. The kit comes with the squirrel and everything you need to do it. At the last retreat we were at, Michelle Rudy actually won that little squirrel, and then the Smalls Exchange, that was her prize. And as soon as I seen it, it was adorable. Had to get right on the website and order it from right there at the retreat. So that's going to be my last Stitch 9 piece for this year. I haven't started it yet, so it'll be a new start. That's it. It's the end of my WIP parade. I'd like to thank you for sticking with me through this. If you did, I was super nervous. It's my first video, so I'll probably make monthly videos. That's my goal, is to try to do them about once a month. My stitchy time is very sporadic. I get to stitch a lot at work, but not so much at home. So I thought, if I have a lot of progress, I might come back in like 3 weeks, but probably monthly is good. I'm trying to do Stitch from Stash this year because I have enough stuff to last me several lifetimes that I'll never be able to stitch all that I have, but I have to keep hoarding and hoarding. So I'm trying to behave myself this year and do Stitch from Stash. So I probably won't have a lot of haul. Hopefully I won't have a lot of haul. So in future videos, I might maybe show you other projects I have kitted, waiting to start whenever I get some of these things finished. Or if I just feel like starting them, I might. But I'm trying to keep my WIP count a little under control, because I want to stitch on everything I have. And anyway, I'm starting to ramble, so thank you for watching. If you like what you see and want to see my future videos, please hit the subscribe button. Appreciate you spending some time with me. I will see you in about a month, and happy stitching. Thank you.